Hello, in this video I'm going to show you what you have to serve in the RecMod and ResMod ICAP for the ProxySG to map its own exception page to the user. So what I mean by that, if you go to your proxy and you go to configuration ICAP and you go inside any of your ICAP servers here, so I've got multiple, so let's look at this PyDLP first of all. There is this option here to either serve the exception from the ICAP server or serve the exception on the proxy. So most customers choose to go with the default option, which is the second one. And what this means is that the proxy is going to read the response from the ICAP server, whether that's RecMod or ResMod, and it's going to map it to its own exception page. Now, as to what exception page is going to be used for that, I am going to show you in the exceptions file. Exceptions. Let's view current exceptions. That's the advanced URL that you had to go to. So data leak detected is what the proxy. So this is the exception page. This is the body of the exception page that the proxy is going to serve to a user that gets a ICAP block from the DLP, from the RecMod ICAP server. The actual styling is at the top, right? So this is the actual styling that can be modified, of course. The exception summary is where this goes. And if the user gets blocked by a ResMod ICAP, but an AV engine, the proxy, providing that on your ResMod ICAP server you have got this setting enabled, the proxy is going to serve this exception. So this is the one that you need to customize as you want, with any links, any variables, styles, images, so on and so on. Now to achieve this though, if you are going to use the Bluecore/Symantec/Broadcom content analysis for ResMod or the network prevent for web DLP server, they serve all the right headers to the proxy. So this integration of the mapping is all done for you. You don't need to do anything else other than making sure that this box is ticked and these exception pages are customized to your liking. If you use any other third-party vendors, then there is a possibility that they are not going to serve all the right headers to the proxy. Therefore, the proxy may not map them to those exception pages, even though this setting is enabled. You're going to see the behavior as if the first setting was enabled, and the user gets the actual exception from the RecMod or ResMod ICAP server. So I'm going to now jump here. I'm going to quickly, so I am here, I guess, demonstrating this is a very basic DLP server written in Python sockets. And all I'm trying to do here is mimic that I don't use a Symantec DLP. This is a third-party DLP. And the important headers that has to be included for proxy to do the mapping on RecMod are these. So if you go to this link, the built-in exceptions and HSWIG 7.4, you scroll all the way to the bottom, and this is what must be true for the proxy to serve the exception. So it has to have this header. The value can be anything. This is the name of the header. And it also has to have the server header. Again, the value can be anything. So going back here, what I am doing here, when the post has the string secret in it anywhere, I am going to start this DLP block function, and the DLP block function will serve this. So first of all, I noticed that there are 3 different ICAP payloads here. So the first one is the actual ICAP response, and notice that that's where I put the server header with some value. Doesn't matter what you set the value to. And again, I have used that X violations found header, and I just set the value to foobar just to demonstrate that it can be absolutely anything. And then I've got this. I have actually taken this from what the Symantec DLP serves, as well as some of the other headers here that you could recognize. And that's the end of the ICAP, the first ICAP payload, marked with 2 lots of CRLF here, right? RN. Then after that follows the HTTP response. The headers here, I guess are just usual, HTTP response, headers. The important one I have noticed is the content length. If you don't match if your content length header value doesn't match exactly with the payload, then you're going to get an ICAP error. So it's important that you match that. But again, you probably don't need to worry about this if you use some third party like DLP solution, because it will be doing that by default as per the RFCs. And here I just serve some, and this is the last, I guess, payload here, right? So we got ICAP, then so the ICAP headers, HTTP headers, and then the HTTP payload, which is here. And that's the end. There is nothing else to send here marked with a 0. So if we now run a test on that, so I am running this ICAP server on 1344. If I now go to my proxy that is integrated with the RecMod ICAP, doing a post, I'm posting the string that's going to trigger the violation. And notice that everything worked fine. I connected to the proxy, there is my post, and notice that here indeed I got the exception from the proxy, data_leak_detected. I did not get the exception from the DLP. But if you do want to see that in action, what I can do, that's actually, a CAS, so I need to go to my DLP, PyDLP, change this, and I'm going to rerun my test. And notice that now I didn't get the exception from the proxy, I got the exception from the ICAP server. You may be asking, well, why is this exception? It's 200 OK, right? So bear in mind, this is not HTTP. This is ICAP, right? And in ICAP world, in ICAP world, a 200 OK means that the ICAP server is replacing the original content with something else, right? So you are never going to see ICAP 4 or 3. ICAP 2 or 4 means that the content was scanned and is okay, and therefore there is no modification, it is returned to the user. ICAP 200 means that the content was scanned and there was there was something found, a violation, and it was replaced with something. This status code doesn't really matter much. You could potentially change this to 4 or 3 if you want to, right? But at this point it doesn't really matter because you have already hit an ICAP violation here, because 200 in ICAP world means bad, and this just is a regular HTTP server status code for, okay, well, you hit a violation, now I'm going to serve you this content. Now I can show you what the CAS has to include. So if we minimize this and go back to this resource here, here is virus detected, right? And here, by the way, it even tells you that the ICAP status code has to be 200, right? So here it says virus was detected in a content, right? So if I jump into my code here and we are talking about CAS block, so here is the CAS block. So these are the important fields. This X virus ID and X virus details, because if you don't have those, if we look back at the virus detected exception, you can see that those variables are called here in this exception page. So if you don't include those, the proxy is not going to map the exception page. X virus details, X virus ID. So the proxy is going to take whatever is there in that exception page on that header and it's going to put it there. So just to show you a quick test of this, I'm going to clear the screen again and let's get a I think this one will do it. Right, yep. So here I am not posting any data. It's not even a post, it's just a get. This method is implicit, but I explicitly wanted to call it out here. I am getting data from my server. The resource on the server that I'm calling is called virus. That has inside just got a string called virus. And if you look at my CAS block here, if there is a string virus, right, in response, I'm calling this CAS block function, and the CAS block function here is this guy, and this is where again there's 3 lots of like ICAP/HTTP payloads, right? So first is the ICAP header, which ends here. There is the sequence. Then again, I've got the HTTP header. Again, that's the end of it. And again, like content length here must be right. And then here I serve the CAS exception page. So, but notice that this is not what the user gets. So the user got virus detected. So the mapping on a proxy worked. But if we were to do the same change here, if I wanted to see the exception from my Python REST-mod ICAP rather than the one from proxy, I would make that change. I would then clear the screen, rerun this, and there you go. I didn't get the exception from the proxy because I told it not to do that. So let me minimize this. And one last thing I wanted to show you here is how you can customize the exception pages. So that's my proxy. So you go to conft, then exceptions, and then you go inline, format, you set your start and end of file a character. I don't know, I normally just do that. And here you would hit enter, you would put the entire exception file, which is this. So you would like copy all this, put it in a notepad, make your changes to the template, make your changes to the body of the exception here, and you would then take that, you would paste it here, you would hit enter, type in EOF123, and that's it. That's how you modify the whole exception file. You could modify the individual exceptions, but that only works with the user-defined ones. If you want to modify anything that's not within the user-defined exception pages, you have to do the whole file. And that concludes the demo. Thank you.